Hey! Don't move! Step away from the car right now!
Officer, this is my home. What's going on?
I asked you a question. You fit the description, and people like you always think you can talk your way out.
I haven't done anything
That's
wrong.
what you all say. Turn around before I make you.
You're making a serious mistake.
At 6:14 a.m. on a quiet Saturday morning in Alexandria, Virginia, the air was still inside one of the most exclusive gated communities in the D.C. metro area. In a suburban driveway, a 54-year-old woman named Nan Ashford stood alone, loading luggage into the back of her silver Lexus SUV. To any passerby, she was just a neighbor heading out for the weekend. She was dressed casually, yoga pants, a zip-up jacket, and reading glasses perched on her head. A travel mug of coffee rested on the roof of her car. But Nan Ashford wasn't just any neighbor. For 11 years, she had served as a United States federal judge. She was a woman appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate, a legal heavyweight who had presided over hundreds of cases involving constitutional law and federal crimes. That morning, she was heading to Dulles International Airport to catch a flight to Chicago, where she was scheduled to deliver a keynote address on the future of due process. She never made it to the airport. What happened in the next 11 minutes would trigger a federal crisis, end careers, and send shockwaves through the highest levels of American law enforcement. At 6:17 a.m., 3 unmarked black Chevrolet Suburbans screeched onto her street and swerved to a stop, completely blocking her driveway. 6 agents in tactical vests jumped out in formation, the bold letters ICE printed across their chests. Leading the team was Craig Delano, a 43-year-old supervisory officer with 16 years in the field. Inside his office, Delano had a reputation for being aggressive, for finding a niche in the gray areas of the law, and for pushing boundaries that other supervisors wouldn't touch. Delano approached Ashford with his hand resting on his sidearm. "Stop what you're doing. Step away from the vehicle," he barked. Ashford turned slowly, her hands empty and visible. "Can I help you?" she asked calmly. Delano didn't provide a reason. "You match the description of a person of interest in an active immigration operation. Identification. Now." Ashford set her jacket down on the bumper. Her voice was measured, the voice of a woman used to controlling a federal courtroom. "I am Judge Nan Ashford. I am a federal judge with the United States District Court. This is my home." Delano's eyes narrowed. He didn't even look at her ID. He glanced at his team and sneered, "Sure you are. She's being evasive." "Watch her hands." "Do you have a warrant?" Ashford asked. "I don't need a warrant," Delano snapped. "Turn around and put your hands on the vehicle." Ashford didn't move. "Yes, you do. You are on private property. You have not identified a crime, and as a matter of law, you do not have the authority to detain me." Delano stepped so close his vest nearly touched her. "I don't answer to you. Turn around now." As the confrontation escalated, the neighborhood began to wake up. Across the street, a porch light clicked on. A curtain moved. Colonel Eldon Pratt, a retired Air Force veteran, stepped onto his lawn, phone already raised and recording. He wasn't the only one. Neighbors were watching, and the red record lights were blinking. Agent Tara Schofield, Delano's second-in-command, moved behind the judge, cutting off any retreat. Suddenly, Delano grabbed Ashford's right arm and spun her violently toward the SUV. Her shoulder hit the side mirror with a dull crack. Her coffee mug slid off the roof and shattered on the concrete. "I am a federal judge," Ashford said, her voice loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "You are making a serious mistake." "Stop resisting," Delano shouted, though Ashford was standing perfectly still with her hands open. Schofield grabbed her left arm, wrenched it behind her back, and slammed her chest against the hood of the car. Delano snapped the handcuffs on, ratcheting them so tight they bit into her skin. Her reading glasses fell to the pavement and cracked. "That's Judge Ashford. What the hell are you doing?" Colonel Pratt shouted, running across the street in his bathrobe and slippers. Delano spun around. "Sir, get back or you will be detained for obstruction." While Pratt's wife was on the phone with 911, The agents began a warrantless search of the vehicle. They didn't ask for consent. They just started pulling things out. They unzipped her suitcase on the wet driveway, tossing her clothes and toiletries aside. They emptied her purse onto the hood. Keys, lipstick, and her wallet spilled out. Then they found her briefcase. They forced the lock. Inside were sealed federal court documents and her official judicial credentials. Delano picked up the ID card and stared at it. The photo matched the woman pinned to the hood. The seal was authentic. The air in the driveway suddenly shifted. The agents knew. But instead of admitting the mistake and unlocking the cuffs, Delano doubled down. "Finish the sweep," he ordered. "These could be forged." Ashford, her cheek still pressed against the cold metal of her car, spoke with the weight of the entire federal bench behind her. "You are now searching sealed federal court documents without authorization. You have committed multiple federal crimes." At the back of the group, a young agent named Kyle Rennick looked pale. He leaned toward Schofield and whispered, "We need to stop." "Shut up," Schofield hissed back. By now a crowd had gathered. Beverly O'Shea, a Georgetown constitutional law professor and neighbor, stepped onto the driveway. She didn't scream. She cited the law. "You are violating 18 U.S.C. 111 and 1512. Uncuff her immediately." Delano threatened her with arrest too, but O'Shea didn't flinch. She kept her camera pointed right at his face. I'm a law professor. I'm not leaving, and neither is my camera." Finally feeling the walls close in, Delano walked back to his SUV and called his supervisor. The neighbors filmed him pacing, rubbing his forehead in agitation. When he returned, the aggression was gone, replaced by a desperate attempt at damage control. He unlocked the cuffs without a word of apology. "There's been a mix-up. You're free to go." Ashford straightened up slowly, wincing as she moved her bruised shoulder. She looked at the deep red welts on her wrists and her belongings scattered across the pavement. She didn't just walk away. She pulled out her own phone and started her own record. "My name is Judge Nayan Ashford," she narrated as she filmed the agents and their license plates. I was arrested in my own driveway because I'm black." Within 30 minutes, the machinery of the federal government was screaming into gear. Colonel Pratt called a friend at the Pentagon. Professor O'Shea called the dean of Georgetown Law. Judge Ashford called the chief judge of her circuit. By 8 a.m., the Department of Justice and the DHS, Office of Inspector General, were involved. While the higher-ups were scrambling, Craig Delano was back at the Fairfax field office, typing a report that was a total work of fiction. He claimed Ashford was combative and uncooperative. He claimed the force used was proportional. He left out the judicial ID and the sealed documents. He pressured the rookie, Kyle Rennick, to sign it. "Sign it or your career is over," Delano told him. Rennick signed, but that night the guilt ate at him. Yet he called the anonymous whistleblower hotline and told the truth. The report was a fabrication. The investigation moved at lightning speed because assaulting a federal judge isn't just a policy violation, it's a felony. The FBI descended on the ICE office, seizing body cams, GPS data, and targeting files. The most shocking discovery? There was never a warrant for Nayan Ashford or her address. The actual target of the operation was in a completely different subdivision 2 miles away. Delano had simply gone to the wrong street, saw a black woman in a driveway, and decided she was the one. The body cam footage was the final nail in the coffin. It showed Ashford being perfectly compliant while Delano and Schofield used excessive force. It showed the moment Delano looked at her judicial ID and decided to keep her in cuffs anyway. Just a senior FBI analyst called it the most clear-cut case of unlawful arrest he had seen in 22 years. Delano and Schofield were suspended without pay. The field office director was removed. But the internet didn't wait for the official press release. A neighbor's video went viral, racking up millions of views in hours. The headline was everywhere. ICE agents cuff black federal judge in her own driveway. The Senate Judiciary Committee demanded hearings. The Congressional Black Caucus called for a total overhaul. Even the United States Supreme Court took the rare step of issuing a statement calling the incident an attack on the independence of the federal judiciary. 8 weeks later, a grand jury returned a massive indictment. Craig Delano was charged with deprivation of rights under color of law, assault on a federal officer, and falsifying federal records. Tara Schofield was charged with conspiracy and filing false reports. Kyle Rennick, the rookie who spoke up, was granted immunity. He testified about the pressure to lie. Colonel Pratt testified about the humiliation he witnessed. But the most powerful moment was when Judge Ashford herself took the stand. "I have spent my career upholding the Constitution," she told the jury. "That morning, I learned how it feels when the Constitution fails to protect you." The defense tried to argue it was a good faith mistake in a high-pressure environment. The prosecution wasn't having it. "A mistake is going to the wrong address," the prosecutor argued. "A crime is what you do after you realize you're wrong and decide to lie about it." The jury didn't need long. They deliberated for only 6 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all counts. Craig Delano was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison. Tara Schofield received 3 years. The $6.7 million settlement paid to Judge Ashford was one of the largest of its kind, but she didn't keep the money for herself. She used it to establish a legal clinic focused on training law enforcement on the Fourth Amendment and protecting citizens from profiling. The silver Lexus still sits in that Alexandria driveway, and the cracked glasses have been replaced. But for the law enforcement community, the Ashford incident remains a permanent lesson. It's a reminder that no matter what your niche is in the system, the law applies to the people wearing the vest just as much as the people they are sworn to protect. Said in an age where everyone has a camera, the truth can't be hidden in a falsified report anymore. Justice might be delayed, but when it arrives, it carries the full weight of the truth.